Alright, so in this video we're going to work with Ajax and jQuery. Now before we get started, there's a couple things that I need you to do if you're going to follow along. One is to install Nodejs, which is a JavaScript runtime. Basically you can run JavaScript in a server environment. So you need to get that installed, and then also there's an NPM module called Live Server. NPM is Node packaged modules. So basically when you install Node, you also get NPM, and you can install different modules such as this one. And this is a server that is very simple. It's just a dev server. You run a command in your command line and it'll open your file as open it inside of a server, all right, or in a server environment. And the reason we're doing this is because if we try to do Ajax from just a standard file on the file system, we're going to get some issues with Chrome. So just get that installed. If you don't have it, just go to nodejs.org, go ahead and download it, install it. It's just a standard Windows installer. If you're on Mac or Linux, follow the directions for those platforms as well. Once you get that set up, I'm just going to open up a command line real quick. Okay, once you get that set up, you should be able to say node v, and that'll give you your version, and npm v, and that'll also verify that you have both of those. Alright, so now to get live server set up, all you're going to have to do is say npm install live server, and you want to add -g. That's going to make it global so that you can access it from anywhere. You can run your server from anywhere. So just go ahead and do that. And if you have something like XAMPP or XAMPP or one of those with an where you have an Apache server, you can also use that as well. You just have to have some kind of server environment. Alright, so that's set up. Now what we want to do is navigate to our file here, which I have in Ajax, a folder called Ajax. So I'm going to say cd ..., and it's on my desktop, so I want to go to users brad /desktop /jQuery crash course. Not specified. Let's see. cd users brad. Oh, I spelled desktop wrong. Okay, and then I want to go into the Ajax folder, and then what we're going to do is run live server. Now, if your port 8080 isn't taken, which it probably isn't, then you can just go ahead and run live server. Mine is, so I'm going to specify a certain port. I'm going to say port 8000. Alright, and that will just load up that index.html file in the server. You can see we're at 127.001.8000. Alright, so just wanted to get that out of the way before we start. So let's open up our index file here, which is just the UI that we've been using. And let's get started. Alright, so Ajax stands for Asynchronous JavaScript and XML, and you probably already know that. What it does is it allows you to do things like make requests behind the scenes so that you don't have to refresh the page. You can just update certain parts of your application. Alright, and you can use this to get other HTML pages. You can fetch JSON so that you can work with APIs and you can get data and load it. And do all kinds of stuff, make post requests. So what I'm going to do here is in the container I'm going to put a div with an ID of result, and then I'm going to create another file in this folder. So let's see, we're going to create a new file, and let's call it test.html. Alright, and then we'll open that up, and I'm just going to put an h1 here, and we'll just say hello from test. Save that, and then what I want to do is bring in the content from that file using Ajax. Now there's a bunch of different methods we can use. I think the easiest is load. Okay, it's the easiest, but you also have some limitations. Now let's go down here and we're going to say, we're going to grab that result div and we're going to call .load, and then in here we're going to pass in the file that we want to load. So this is going to be test.html, and it's in the same directory, so we don't need any folder structure or anything like that. So let's go ahead and save it, and over here it should reload by itself, and there you go, hello from test. So we're bringing the content from this file into this one using Ajax. Okay, none of the other parts of the page are reloading. Now there's some stuff we can add to this load method if, say, we want to check the response, or we want it to do something if there's an error. So we can do that with a callback function. If we go like that, and that can take in a couple things. We'll say response text, status text, and then our XHR object. Alright, and then in here we'll do an if. Okay, we'll check to see if everything went alright. We'll say if status text is equal to success, that means everything went okay. So then we'll do an alert. We'll say it went fine, and then let's do another if. Actually, let's do an else if. We'll say else if status text equals error. Then we'll say alert we'll say error, and then we can also put in the status. So we'll concatenate that xhr.status, and then we can also get the status. Actually, we'll just do status text like that. Alright, so if we save that and reload, it went fine, and then it goes and adds that content. Now what if we don't have a file called, or what if we search for a file called test1 that we know isn't there? Let's go ahead and save that and reload, and now we get error not found. Alright, so that's how that works. I'm just going to change that back, and let's go ahead and comment this out. Alright, so that's the load method. We also have a get that we can use. So it's $.get, and in here we can pass in test.html, and then it's going to take a function. Okay, that function will pass back data, and then we can do what we want with that data. Let's put it in result. We'll say result.html, and we'll pass in data. Alright, so let's save that, and it reloads, and we get the data. Okay, so it works just like we did with load. It's just a different way of doing it. Now let's say we want to get JSON content. So what I'm going to do is create in here a new file, and I'm going to call it users.json. Alright, and we'll open that up, and I'm just going to paste this in. It's just an array of objects, JSON objects, just some users, and we'll save that. They each have a first name, last name, and email. So let's go back to our script, and now what we want to do is we want to use, instead of get, we're going to use get JSON. So I'm going to comment that out. Alright, and let's say .get JSON. And in here we'll put in the name of the file, which is users.json, and then we have our function. Okay, pass in the data, and then what we'll do is loop through. We'll do an each, pass in the data we're getting back, and then a function, pass in the index and val. Actually, instead of val, let's say user. It'll be a little bit more descriptive. And then we'll put up here a UL with the ID of users. Okay, and then down here we'll take that. So UL ID users, and we want to dot append, pass in here our LIs, and in here we'll put user dot first name. Save that, let it reload, and looks like unexpected identifier. Oh, I don't have a comma right here. I gotta separate those. There we go. So now the users are being pulled in and put in as list items. Okay, so that can be really helpful. Now, right now we're working with a local file, but we can also use third-party APIs. Now there's one, I forget exactly the URL right here, jsonplaceholder.typecode.com, and this basically gives us free APIs to work with. For instance, posts. You can see it gives us all these different posts with a title and a body. So let's do that. Now we could use getJSON, but I'm now going to show you the Ajax method. Okay, and these all do the same basic thing, really. Alright, I think the Ajax is the most flexible. You have the most options and so on. Alright, so let's say moneysign.ajax, and in here we're going to put an object. First thing is going to be the method. So this could be post or get. If you don't provide a method, I believe the default is get. And then we need the URL. And we'll grab this right here. Okay. And then we're going to say the data type, which in this case is JSON. And then down here, we're going to say .done. And inside that done, we'll have a function. And that's going to pass back data. Okay, now in this done callback function, let's do console.log data. Okay, we'll go back, reload, and now if you look down here, we have a whole bunch of objects, and they have title, body, ID, and user ID. So it's pulling all of this into our application. Now, if we want to put this in our browser, in our application UI, we can use, let's use the map instead of each. I don't think I showed you that. Okay, works very similar. I'm going to say $.map. Whoops. And then we're going to pass in here data, the data that came back. Then we'll say function. Okay, we'll pass in here post. You can call it whatever you want, but I'm going to be descriptive. And then we'll take our result and we'll say .append, and let's append an H3. That'll have the title, so we'll just put that in there, post.title. And then after the H3, let's put a paragraph, and we're going to concatenate in there post.body. Alright, so let's save that. And there we go. We have all of our posts, all the title and the body. Now the last thing I want to show you is how we can make a post request. Alright, so what we're going to do is, let's first of all comment this out. and then we're going to create a form up here. Okay, the form, and then we're going to have input type text, and we'll give it an ID of title and a placeholder of title. And then let's do a text area, placeholder, body, and let's give it an ID of body. Alright, and then we'll just put H3, we'll say add post. Alright, and let's give this form an ID as well. We'll call it post form. Alright, and let's also put an action in. So usually if you're using PHP or something and you're directly submitting a form, you want to put an action. With JavaScript, we're going to put our URL in here, but we're going to grab it from within our script and then call the post request. So the URL I want is this same one. Okay, we're going to make a post request to this. Just like that. And then let's go down. Let's check it out first. Okay, so we have our, whoa, we need a submit button, and that's really ugly. So I'm just going to put a line break there and there, and then let's put our input. So submit value, submit, and there we go. Okay, so now what we're going to do is grab that form. So it had an ID of post form, and then we'll say dot submit. Okay, put our function, and we're going to pass in that E value because we want to prevent the default behavior. Prevent default. And let's see, we want to grab the title and the body values. So let's say var title, and we're going to set it to ID title dot val. Okay, same thing with the body. Body.val. Okay, and then the URL, let's grab that as well. Remember, that's in the action attribute. So what we can do is we can say this because we're talking about the actual form, and then we want the attribute of action. Alright, then what we're going to do is we're going to use the post function. Just like we have get, we have dot post. Alright, and then here we're going to pass in the URL, and then the values we want to send along, which will be title. Okay, send them as an object, like that, and then we're going to say dot done, and that takes in a function. Okay, now it's going to give us the data back as well, and then what we'll do is just console.log, we'll say post saved console.log, and we'll pass in the data. Alright, so let's go ahead and reload. Unexpected identifier, what's that? Variable, oh, I forgot the equal sign. Alright, so we'll just say hello. This is body. Submit. And there we go. So we're submitting, and we're post saved, and then we're getting the object back along with the ID that's being assigned to it in the API. Alright, so that's how you can make a post request in jQuery and using Ajax. Alright, so I think we're going to stop there. Now, as of now, this is the last video in the course, but I will be looking at some other areas of jQuery that we can possibly add on to this. Alright, so at least now you know all the basics. And hopefully you enjoyed this mini course, and I would definitely suggest that you take a look at the course that's in the description. It's an Eduonics course. It's extremely cheap, and it'll give you 10 projects to build with both JavaScript and jQuery. So thanks for watching, and I will see you next time.